you've played it or not, there is no denying that the World of Warcraft was, and in many ways still, is one of the most important and industry-changing games ever made. I could sit here and talk about all of its achievements, as well as its sometimes negative effects, on the industry, many of which most of us are familiar with. But like with my other videos, in this segment of my channel, I'd like to focus on one element in this colossal game, and that I believe is a rare gaming achievement and something I've never experienced before or even after. What I want to focus on is the animosity between the players when they side with either the Horde or the Alliance, the two main factions in this game. I personally played the World of Warcraft for around 6 years straight, probably. I started playing the original beta, or beta, however you want to pronounce it, of the original World of Warcraft, and played all the way through to the Cataclysm expansion pack, before I found that I couldn't devote the time to raid anymore due to work life and me also having 5 kids to feed. Also, having played all the real-time strategy games, one of the great delights of first playing the World of Warcraft was seeing this world in full 3D for the first time. A fantastic moment for any fan of the series, I feel. I immediately jumped into the full game upon release, and instead of going into a player versus enemy server, I went straight into a player versus player server, where if you're in the correct zones of the world, players on the opposite faction could attack you at will. So here I am, a fresh orc warrior who has learned the basics of the world in the Valley of Trials, ventured through the orc land of Durotar, stepped into the massive orcish capital city, Orgrimmar, travelled the vast plains of the orc-controlled barons, killing countless quillboars, centaurs and thunder lizards, before finally crossing the border into the Stone Talon Mountains. This is where everything changes if you're on a PvP server. All the lands I had previously been in were considered as safe territory, areas where no one could attack me at will unless I attacked them first. To further add to this, the names of all the areas I had been in flashed up on the screen in nice green bold letters, further indicating that you were pretty much on safe territory. When you first step into what is called contested territory, this is land that is not controlled by either the Horde or the Alliance, and the names of these areas now change to a more cautious amber as they flash up on the screen. The base game doesn't change in any way once you enter these areas. You still find quests and can explore freely, but what does change is that if you come across any player from a rival faction, no matter what level in power they are, you and them are free to attack each other at will. I remember when I first entered contested territory, it was a heart-pounding moment for me, and like anything I'd felt in a video game before. Suddenly my once relaxed camera controls were now flying all around the screen, constantly checking behind me, above me, pretty much every angle, completely on guard in case some Alliance pig dog tried to sneak up on me. This is an absolutely incredible moment. I've played many multiplayer games before where you're fighting against other players, but this one was different. There was no knowing where other players might be, as you were in a vast open world that could pretty much be accessed from any angle. You could easily be out-leveled by another player who could tour with you first, and you would be virtually defenseless against them, before they decide to kill you with one hit or something. You could even stumble across a group of players, all on the other opposite faction, and who all decide to chase you down as you run for your life. And it's here that, for me, that rare gaming moment, or repeating moments in this case, comes into play. As you play through the game, Blizzard has managed to create something that is utterly wonderful, original, as well as completely human in nature. You find that your hatred for the opposite faction increasingly grows as each interaction with another player ends badly. And this is another thing. You might hate the player for killing you, for example, but you generally won't curse them out. You'll curse out whatever faction they are on. There's not even any real reward for killing another player. This obligation, somehow becomes ingrained into you. You almost feed off it, and to add to it, you literally start hating the entire faction that they represent, whether it's the Horde or the Alliance. As you further get involved in the ongoing drama of the world, which in this case is mostly about war, then Blizzard achieves something else. You start hating on individual species and races. I personally hated dwarves and gnomes, due to their size. But to be fair, this was mostly based around the fact that they were harder to click on, if you wanted to attack them or defend yourself. But look, here I am, in a way showing racism and prejudice, hating on a way of life, in terms of the Alliance, as if it's like the West versus the East, as well as hating on a race based off the way they look. Does this sound familiar in our way of life? If Orgrimmar, the Horde capital, ever came under attack from a massive raiding party of Alliance players, the vast majority of Horde players would unite for that moment and descend upon Orgrimmar, all chanting "Defend Thrall," who was the leader of the Horde when I played it most, back then. Whilst everyone done everything they could to destroy all the Alliance players before they killed him. The funny thing was, once again, there was no real reward for killing Horde or Alliance leaders, but just a need to bring each faction down to their lowest and perhaps show your dominance on whatever server you were on. Also, people loved Thrall as a leader and wanted to protect him and the current Horde way of life. No matter what the occasion, most encounters with the opposite faction ended badly. But once again, you see many other human traits appearing in this game that take you by surprise and leave deep impressions on your experience with this title. I recall one moment where I was questing in an area called Stranglethorn Vale, which was another contested zone, and one that saw a lot of hostility between both factions for whatever reasons. I stumbled upon a Dwarf Alliance player who immediately saw me as well. We both stood there for a moment, clearly nervous and unsure if one or the other will make an aggressive move. In a surprise turn of events, the Dwarf player used a bowing emote that made his character bow towards me. This took me by surprise at first, but I also instantly understood his actions. We were both the same level in the same area where life and death were the same, and us fighting would produce nothing but unnecessary grief. I returned the gesture, bowing myself, and we both cautiously went on our way. It was a strange yet significant moment. Two different races, tired of fighting, decided not to engage and go our separate ways in a moment of mutual understanding. I'd like to point out that in this game, you can't understand what the opposite faction is saying when they type something, as whatever pops in the speech bubble above their heads is meant to be in the race's own made-up language, so all communication is done through visual character action. I later bumped into the same Dwarf player around an hour later, and this time we recognized each other, waved politely, and continued on our way. What an amazing moment in a game that, for the most part, seemingly fuels hatred from all sides. The World of Warcraft has achieved many things, but for me, its greatest achievement is capturing all of humanity's good and bad traits like love, compassion, and culture, to racism, prejudice, and war, all within this one virtual world. This all starts when you first enter contested territory, and for me, I haven't experienced anything similar since. So this is why the Horde versus the Alliance is a rare gaming achievement in my eyes and is utterly amazing. So, have you played this game and experienced the same thing, or perhaps you've played another game that offers similar experiences? As always, thanks for watching, and I look forward to your comments below. Peace.